well, they'll just give you some random equation and they'll tell you to solve for m. We're still going to use those inverse operations. So for instance, an a here, m minus n, and we're equals 5, and we're solving for m. All right, so we're going to use inverse operations to solve for m. Well, we're subtracting n from it, so I'm going to add n to both sides. Negative n plus n. Excuse me, I'm going to pause it here. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. So we add n to negative n, and they cancel out. So we're left with m. We've isolated m, which is what we wanted to do. And on the right side, we're left with 5 plus n, or n plus 5, doesn't really matter. Either way, we solve for it. M equals 5 plus n. Okay. You can actually go back in and check your answer. So I could take 5 plus n, and I could put it in for m and see what we get. We should come out to equal sides. So if I do that, if I take 5 plus n, and I put that in for m, okay, minus n equals 5, let's see what happens. I can kind of get rid of my parentheses, but I'm just letting you know that this is m. This is what we solved for. That's what we said m equals. Okay, so 5 plus n minus n. Well, n minus n cancels out. We're left with 5 equals 5. And that checks out, meaning we got the right answer up there. So it's pretty cool. You can actually still go back and check your answer if you want to. That can get kind of tricky when you don't have an actual number, but it is possible. All right, next one. They want us to solve for k. All right, you have a couple options in this one. We have m over k equals x. One thing you can do, since we're dividing by k, is you could multiply both sides by k. So what do I mean by that? Oops, sorry. If I multiply both sides by k, that'd be like k over 1. Well, this is like k divided by k, essentially. But I'd also have to multiply this side by k. So m equals xk. And then in order to solve for k, I would then have to divide both sides by x, since k is being multiplied by x. So k equals m over x. And again, you can plug that back in and check and see if it checks out, and it should. But like I said, not always easy. I'll show you how to do that with some interesting ones in class. All right, what else could we do? There is another option for this one. Actually, more than just one option, but I'll show you one that many of you might prefer. If you put x over 1, you can solve for k like this. You can do your cross products. Remember, cross products should be equal to each other. So x times k should equal m times 1. Well, m times 1 is just m. So we've got m equals xk, and then again we can divide by x and get the same thing. Alright, so you could do it just like that. Those division ones can get a little interesting. Alright, last example here. This gets a little more involved. Okay, to solve for x here, well, we'll notice first of all that x is wrapped up in those parentheses. It's being multiplied by that 2. So what most of you will do is do a distributive property first. This isn't the only route that you could go, and I'll show you different routes in class, but 2 times x and 2 times 5, so plus 10 equals y minus 4. So do a little simplification before you start. Alright, and now we can look at getting x by itself. So subtracting 10 So y, and then negative 4 minus 10, or negative 4 plus negative 10, negative 14 or minus 14, and then we're going to divide this by 2. Now you can divide the entire quantity by 2 if you want to. X equals y minus 14 all over 2. Here are some other options. So this is one possible answer. Okay. Another possible answer could be if you divide by 2 and you take each term divided by 2, so you get x equals y divided by 2, and then minus 14 divided by 2, which is 7. That's another possible answer. So this is also an answer. You're going to get a few different options here. And lastly, the first thing we could have done, this is the last thing I'll show you, is before we even did any of this, okay, we didn't have to distribute right away. Since 2 is multiplying times this entire quantity, I could divide by 2 right away. And what that does is it leaves me with x plus 5 equals y minus 4 all over 2. And then what I could do is subtract 5 on both sides. So we'd be left with x equals y minus 4 divided by 2 minus 5. And then you could go even one step further to